Welcome, welcome, welcome. Why does the microphone seem so not really not picking up that well? Crank it all the way up. There we go. I don't know, this seems to happen every so often as the microphone just kind of goes goofy. Anyway, transition. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Adversary of My Adversary. Maeve, welcome. You're the first one in. We're just going to chalk up the fact that there's almost nobody here because it's after solstice, Christmas type shit thing, you know. So what we're going to be talking about today is the Mandela Effect. And the reason we're going to be talking about the Mandela Effect is because I had something that really screwed up my head earlier today. So I'm just going to briefly get into this, and then Dyra's going to do the weekly read for the episode. But I distinctly remember Looney Tunes being Toons, as in cartoons, Looney Tunes, because it just kind of makes sense. And apparently it was never Looney Tunes, like Toons. It was Tunes, like Tunes, like music-wise, which doesn't even logically make sense to me. But it is really screwing with my head, because I swear on everything sacred that it was Looney Tunes, like cartoons. So yeah, we're going to be talking about the Mandela Effect, and kind of like from an LHP perspective, I suppose. I mean, however much we can do that, I'm not sure, but you know, we're going to try to. Mystic Atero, welcome. Be doing well. Anyway, before we dive into it, Dyra is going to be doing the read for us. So take it away.
Sure. So, as we all know on this podcast, rather than a general read, this is a read on our relationships, not just our romantic ones, but our relationships as a whole. So, what is coming up for us tonight?
Disaster. Apocalypse. I'm just throwing ideas out there. That's probably not true. Somehow I think it's very counterintuitive to have swords sticking out of your boat. You're putting holes in the boat.
Okay. Oh, the cards just fell on the floor. So
78 pickup.
let's have a look. So the first, I'm using what deck am I using this evening? The fucking glare, the Bianca Nero tarot, which was given to me by you. It was originally yours, and you couldn't get on with it, so now it's mine. So our first card is, you be my card holder again, thank you. The first card is the moon. So the moon represents the unconscious, what's hidden. It can represent the astral, dreams, etc. So the thing about the moon, right, is that the moon does not have its own light. The moon reflects the light of the sun, which is why in tarot as well, the moon can represent illusions. So if we are looking at the moon too much, we are forgetting what the real source of light is. So the moon can sometimes represent being caught up in illusion. Now, what interests me is the card that comes next after the moon, which is the Six of Swords in reverse. Now, generally speaking, the Six of Swords is about resisting transition, having baggage that, you know, we can't let go of, But what I find really interesting about this is that how it was positioned was that the man on his boat is facing back towards the moon, which implies to me that there's something that we've missed. There's something we need to go back and look at. The moon represents an illusion, therefore we need to go back and figure what that is before we continue with our journey, so that our journey is as smooth as possible. We need to go back and just have a look, because we might be under illusion right now. And what we want is to be fully in touch with our will, and not just our will, but our true will. Now, a lot of people don't necessarily understand the difference between will and true will. Our true will is what is in alignment with our higher self, if you want to use that term. So I feel like the magician, whereas also looking back at the moon, is kind of our higher selves instructing us to go back and have a closer look. Now, how does this apply to our relationships? Because right now this sounds like quite a general read. Sorry, am I boring you?
No. No, not at all.
I'm kidding. So we perhaps are under illusion of an idea that our relationships perhaps are something that they are not, or a person is something or someone that they are not, or this is more a reflection of you than other people. This is about your own personal journey. So it's more about the illusions you've perhaps placed on other people. Perhaps you have attached certain ideals to them. Perhaps you have made them into someone that you wanted them to be, but they're just not. But it's important that you go back and take a long, hard look at these illusions so that it's not interrupting your journey. And what's also interesting about the imagery on these cards is with the moon and the Six of Swords. The Six of Swords shows a journey across water, and the moon controls the tides. So what I'm feeling is that there is a very strong connection between these two cards, implying that these illusions that you currently hold are very much dictating the energy, particularly the emotional energy, around your relationships right now.
Yeehaw. So, you said you dropped them on.
Yeah, oh, yeah. All done there.
Yeah, they're all on the floor. Okay, rock on. So, about tonight's topic, the Mandela Effect, which, generally speaking, I think is kind of like it's kind of a freaky idea. The idea that certain aspects of our reality have just flipped for no particular reason, or at least any particular reason that we're aware of. And it kind of makes you think that if that's actually a thing, if reality is flipped or changed direction, and we're noticing it in pop culture, right? So that's the biggest, I think that's one of the biggest things, right? Is that's what people, kind of notice the Mandela Effect is in pop culture, is that major things changes, the major things that we're connected with. Now, in an alternate reality, you are really Adius dude. The dude abides. But there is one anecdotal story that I saw on the internet. There's only one story that I've seen that fits into this.
In an alternate reality, I am Black Witch Diarrhea.
Wow, that was
the best play on my name that I could do.
I mean, you're a few syllables away there, but yeah.
Got something on your face.
That's probably nail polish. The stuff comes off like acrylic paint. So there's this guy that sent in this this story to TikToker, and his story goes like this. So he was married to a woman. I'm gonna give a shorter version of this, but he was married to somebody. They had 2 kids, 2 daughters. And there's a lot more detail that he provided, kind of like how he met his wife, when each child was born, what happened like during the birth, and how old they were and stuff like that. And so he goes fishing, right? So there's one morning he gets up really early, he goes fishing, he's fishing, he goes to his truck, and he sits down in his truck, and he says he looked in the sky and he saw something that kind of looked like the northern lights in the sky. And so he kind of sat there and watched the lights. And he said that, he must have been sitting there for about 20 minutes from what he can remember is how long the lights lasted. When the lights were gone, then he drove home. When he got home, his wife was like, well, where were you? Like, I was trying to call you, couldn't get a hold of you. And he's like, well, I got back from fishing. Like, it was like only 20 minutes. He's like, well, you've been gone for like most of the day. It's like 2:00 in the afternoon. So you've been gone for like 5 hours. And for him, it was, in his mind, it was only a couple hours. And he says, well, where are the girls? And he's like, oh, they're laying down, or they're something like that. And he goes to his bedroom and he lays down and he goes to sleep. And he wakes up about 6, 7 o'clock, because his wife is calling him for dinner. They sit at the table, and one of his daughters doesn't come to the table, and he asks, well, where is so-and-so? I think her name was like Melissa or something like that. Let's just say Melissa. He's like, well, where's Melissa? And his wife just kind of looks at him, who? And he's like, well, Melissa, our other daughter. Like, we don't have another daughter. And so he gets into grave in detail into this story, but basically says that he went through everything that he could go through to try to find any proof of her, and there's no proof of her. Pictures that he thought had her in it, she wasn't in it. And according to what he said in the stories, he's 100% certain that his daughter existed. And he said he's accepted the fact, because of just how adamant his family has been, that this other child has never existed. That he just had a weird dream, but he said that he feels like that there is like a part of him missing, that he's 100% certain that this child existed, that nobody else remembers. And so for me, that's like a big example of the Mandela Effect, but on a much more personal level, right? Because when we think of the Mandela Effect, we think about remembering Pikachu wrong, or a logo incorrectly, or, in my case, Looney Tunes, right? I'm almost 100% certain it was T-O-N-S, not T-U-N-N-E-S. But there's this kid that I showed to Dyra before we went live that talks about the Mandela Effect, and kind of talks about like his own little scientific kind of idea that, so apparently in one reality, I don't know where he gets this from, but apparently there's a thing where I guess they learned how to change the weight of an atom or some shit, and it destroyed the entire universe, and the impact of that destruction transferred all of us and all of our consciousness in a millisecond, in less than a millisecond, into another universe, which is why some of us remember and some of us don't, which would be an idea that some people didn't get transferred, some people just died, and others got transferred over, and we remember things differently. What do you think?
I've thought about this more than I've let on. It's one of those like daydreams I have about like just when I start questioning life and reality, and thinking about like the idea of, you know, did I think about I think about the theory of like parallel universes a lot, right? Because the idea is that like there are infinite versions of us, and infinite versions of our universe, and I don't necessarily like, you know, jump on that because I feel like I don't have enough knowledge of like physics to understand how that would work. But nonetheless, I think about the theory of it a lot, and I think about versions of me who have made decisions or not made decisions and where they are now. Versions of me that have obviously died, or versions of me that are doing better than me right now because they decided not to make decisions. Yeah, I think about that stuff a lot. And but in terms of the Mandela effect, like I feel like there are too many examples. It's weird. I'd say there's too many examples for it not to be like a real thing, but also at the same time, you could say that the amount of examples of the Mandela effect there are, that it could be some kind of I don't know, mass confirmation bias or something. I don't know, like, because we know that from like various experiments that when something's missing, our brain fills in the gaps. Like you showed me the Starbucks logo and how there was never a star there, and I was like, I swear there was a star there, like on her crown. But then I thought, well, you know, there's a bit of an empty space there. It makes sense for the brain to fill in that gap.
It does. I mean, so when it comes to the whole multi-universe theory, I wish Mystic was on right now, because Mystic is totally into this. So apparently, I saw something in passing. I didn't read the article. I wish I did, but I'll probably look it up after this. But apparently, scientists have done something that has, in their opinion, irrefutably proved the multiverse theory. Like something, there's something that they've come up with that has proven it like almost beyond the shadow of a doubt. So let's see here. So what I'm going to do, let me pull this over here so we can still see chat. Okay. Let's see. It says the multiverse theory suggests that the universe we inhabit is not the only one, but rather one of an infinite number of universes existing simultaneously but separately. These other universes might have different physical laws, particles, or even different versions of us. The concept was proposed by Hugh Everett in 1957 and gained acceptance among physicists. While popular in storytelling, science's approach to the multiverse remains controversial. So apparently there is something that proves, you know, the multiverse, and also like there's also this thing that came up. I did read about this, that Google has created a new quantum chip, quantum computing chip, which is significantly more powerful than their current quantum computer. So they're basically, it's to put it this way. So an equation that the current quantum computer would take 300 years to solve, this new quantum chip can solve that same problem in about 3 seconds. That's how powerful this chip is. And there has been speculation surrounding the idea of this chip being able to prove a lot of things that we just have in theory. Being able to experience deja vu or any other clair abilities may be tied to our ability to tap into the possibilities from a multiple universe. Too many weird experiences. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that, like, initially, like, my idea, like multiple realities was kind of like, you know, stuck with Spider-Man and shit, you know, like, you know, the whole Spider-Verse kind of thing. But, you know, science is definitely pushing the bounds of it. But here's the thing, right? Like, so what does something like that mean for the occult? Like, so now we're getting into scientific areas, right? So, I mean, what do you think it means for the occult? What do you think if something like that can be proven, like multiple universes, a multiverse, different versions of us and everything else? I mean, do you think that dives us further into it or pushes us away from it?
I think probably a bit of both. As Maeve said, it would offer an explanation to, you know, various abilities, experiencing deja vu, things like that. I'm interested to know those that are well versed in their astral abilities and astral travel, if they've traveled to, you know, had multiversal experiences.
We should ask Melinda.
Yeah, because that's a reliable source. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it would be. I think it would explain some things, but also make other things harder to explain.
What do you think it would make harder to explain?
I
mean, I agree with you. I'm just wondering what things you think, you know.
don't really know.
Because, I mean, for me, like, if the multiverse thing is real, not only does that, like, you know, it prove like a lot of other things, like the deja vu stuff or people's abilities and stuff like that. But then, okay, so we know that energy can't be destroyed. We know that just changes form, right? So what if this concept of reincarnation? Because so if there are multiple universes, it doesn't necessarily mean that each universe has to be on the same timeline, right? Like, so each universe can be on an individual timeline. So some of them might be in the past, some of them might be in the future, some of them might be lined up with us, right? So if that's the case, if we talk about death and reincarnation, what happens if what we're talking about, what we're looking at in reincarnation, we don't come back here? We go to a different universe.
There was this video I saw once, and it's called the egg theory.
Okay.
And it tells a story of this guy who passes away. He dies, and then he meets this kind of supreme being, and it's like, you know, am I dead? And the supreme being's like, yeah. And he's like, okay, so what now? And the supreme being's like, yeah, you're gonna reincarnate. You're going to reincarnate as a Chinese peasant in the 1700s. And he's like, but wait, that's in the past. And it's the idea that, like, we reincarnate as every single person in existence, and therefore everyone is a reflection of us because they are us. I know it sounds really bizarre. I'm doing a really poor job of explaining it. The video did it a little bit better, where it did kind of have that effect on your brain where you're like, oh my god. But, like, not necessarily to the point where it's believable, but to the point where, like, you know when you hear a conspiracy theory and it's like, it's not total bullshit, you still don't believe it, but it still kind of freaks you out a bit, like the idea of it. It was kind of like that.
Okay.
But yeah, why did I mention that? Because you said about timelines.
Yep.
And yeah, I think time is a really weird thing in the sense of like I don't think that time is linear. I don't think that. I mean, yeah, like we measure time. We have a very fixed way in which we measure time. What's a minute? What's an hour? What's a day? A week? A month? A year? But I've experienced time move in very bizarre ways, and not just in the sense of like, oh, I've been playing The Sims and oh my god, where's 4 hours gone? I mean, like, literally waking up in the night and it being like 1 o'clock in the morning. I lay there for 20 minutes thinking about shit, and I look and it's 3 o'clock in the morning. And there is no fucking way I fell back to sleep. I was wide awake. Like, when I've said that to people, oh, you must have just fallen back to sleep. No, I didn't. I absolutely didn't. No time passed at all. And that was actually a really strange time in my life where I was going through a bit of just a very weird thing. It felt like something was waiting for me to... It was a few months before I stepped into occultism. And it felt like something was waiting for me. And I was waking up at the exact same time every day by the minute with the exact same song playing. I used to have music on while I was asleep, and the exact same song would be playing. I'd wake up at 8 minutes past 8 every morning with I can't remember what song it was, but it was the exact same song. And it was when I first started seeing repeating numbers. And I know that's really like cliche, but that was a thing at the time. And then I was having these weird experiences of like time moving very, very strangely. So it did feel like some sort of awakening. I just didn't know what it meant at the time.
Well, I mean, Albert Einstein has said that time travel is possible. Like it does, time isn't linear.
What was it in Donnie Darko? You needed to have something that traveled faster than the speed of light.
Yeah.
The Mandela Effect is, and also like the whole timelines thing is very Donnie Darko stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean, there are a lot of things.
Shut up.
a lot of things in pop culture, like at least pop culture. This is why I miss the 90s and the early 2000s, because pop culture in the 90s and the early 2000s, that shit made you think. Right? Like, I mean, you watch something like Donnie Darko, Requiem for a Dream, you know, fucking Memento, Pi. Right? Pi was fucking weird, right? Like the mathematician that figures out the meaning of life through math. And then there's like a bunch of people trying to kill him so he can't release it to people. That shit's crazy. You know, it's one of those things that when you sit there and you kind of look at like pop culture, at least back then, you know, it was designed to make you think about things. Now it seems like pop culture is just designed to kind of make you forget shit, you know. But
make you lose brain cells.
Right, exactly. There is a theory that the universe is a loop, so it repeats itself, and other that I mean there is, but I mean the thing is so with the universe, universal concepts is a little bit more difficult because so science has all but I think kind of like proven kind of like the theory of the Big Bang to a certain degree. There are certain things about how the universe moves and stuff like that that kind of proves the concept of the Big Bang being an actual thing. And that the Big Bang is essentially like a rubber band effect, right? Like, so the universe is not infinite, but constantly expanding, right? There is an end and an edge to the universe. It's so vast that we're just not able to see it. And the universe is constantly expanding. But with the concept of how energy works in that case, because the universe is expanding like a rubber band, the theory states that at some point, the universe is going to turn back in on itself. Right? And currently, like the way that we see things, at least movement anyway, when looking in space, is the movement is still going outward, right? So we're not at a point yet where it's coming back. So it's as far as the universe being a loop, I don't know, man. Like, I mean, you know, it's kind of weird. Like, there's just so much. And here's another thing. This is my big question, right? So here, this is my big question. We still don't know, like a fraction of the vastness of the universe. We can barely see the entire galaxy, and I mean, we're talking about the universe here. But if the universe has an edge, if it has a point to which it stops, then what's after that? What is after the edge of the universe?
Like Maeve said about like a loop, like what if you just keep going and you end up back in the same place, but even then that has to have an edge, no? It's like, how can something be infinite, but how can something actually also be finite at the same time?
Well, the thing is I think the one thing that we understand about the universe and just life in general is everything's finite, right? Everything has a beginning and an end. Now, what that time frame looks like is completely different, right? For depending on who you're talking to. I even think the entities and deities that we speak with and work with are finite. I do not believe them to be immortal. I do believe that the timelines on those ends of things are completely different. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, there are animals that can live to be like 200.
Yeah, and what was it that Oracle said that one time with the Greeks? Basically told everyone the Greek gods had died.
Oh yeah. Oh, I can't remember.
Yeah, that was some freaky shit. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, in my personal experience, like, I have deja vu on such a regular basis. And it's not like I remember something or that I feel like I've been here before. It's like I relive a moment and I can't figure out what that moment is or what it's about, but it's a sensation. It's like I can see it for less than half a second, and I can smell it and I can hear it, but it's such a blink of a moment that I can't decipher any of it, and I'm like, what the fuck was that? What was that feeling of familiarity? And I just have no idea what it is.
Yeah, I remember this is gonna sound really stupid. So I remember one time I was still in upstate New York, and I went to like this like kind of lake kind of hangout thing, and I remember I was sitting on some steps. I was by myself. And I was thinking about, like, the meaning of life. Like, what is the meaning of life? And I swear to you, for a half a second, I understood the meaning of life. I knew what it was. And then it was gone. It was almost like it was taken away from me, like, no, too soon. And it was like, it was literally pulled out of my head. But straight up, for easily a half a second, I sat there and I knew what the meaning of life was. And then it was taken away from me. I must have been like 14, 15. And yeah, I mean, me as a 14, 15-year-old, I constantly had like existential thoughts in my head, like, you know, like, not your typical 14-year-old.
The thing is about like these downloads you get, though, it is impossible to put them into words sometimes. Like the deja vu, I consider that to be some sort of like download from elsewhere. It's not just like something that I've, you know, made up or created. Because it's just hit me out of nowhere. I'm sure there's probably like a psychological explanation for deja vu. But anyway, like I said, I can't put that shit into words. You can put that stuff into words. When I do readings for clients, sometimes it takes me a few minutes to try and figure out how to linguistically define what I'm reading.
Yeah.
Because we are limited by language. That's how we, yeah, there's other ways of communicating through like body language, but nonetheless, it's not necessarily verbal language, but we do communicate through language. When we don't have language, like, we can feel what something means, but we can't define it with our words.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I think that there are things that are just far too complex to define with words.
Well, the thing was, is I didn't even have an opportunity to like develop words around it. Like, I don't even remember what the fuck it was that I was thinking about that made that click happen. But there's like, in that moment, there was like a click in my head. It's like, oh, I get it now. And then it was gone.
Yeah, I've definitely had that before.
You know, and I'm like, I think like all the years that I've spent in the occult, like, honestly, it has essentially accumulated to trying to obtain that moment again. Like, which is one of the reasons why, I mean, I mean, I guess I will go with the term high magic. I guess that's what people call it. It's just, when I say high magic, it makes it sound like what I do is better than what everybody else does. So,
yeah, that's white supremacy.
There you go. You know, so it's one of the reasons why I focus on high magic, because I don't ask for tangible objects. It's not that there's anything wrong with asking for a tangible object or that you shouldn't, but it's just all my work that I've done in the occult has been focused and, you know, directed towards trying to obtain that understanding again. Like, it's kind of like one of the things that kind of threw me into wanting to figure stuff out, because I knew in that moment that the meaning of our existence here is beyond our existence here. Why we are here has actually nothing to do with us actually being here. And that's about as much as I know how to explain about that moment that I had in my head. But I didn't have it long enough to be able to process and analyze where it was coming from. But I knew it was there, and I understood in that moment that there was more to everything that we're doing. It wasn't just about the parties and getting drunk or doing drugs or, you know, having a good time. There's so much more behind it. And so my work in the occult, in and out of ritual, is highly focused on obtaining that understanding again. And chances are I probably won't have that moment again until I'm on my deathbed. That everything will once again accumulate and come together into that peaceful clarity, because I think one of the reasons why I constantly work towards that is, so one of the reasons why we do drugs, one of the reasons why we like to get high, is because of that euphoric feeling, that warm wave that washes over us and makes us feel at home. The only thing I know how to explain here is that sensation that I had for a half a second of understanding what the meaning of life was a high more powerful than any drug on this planet can give you. It was such a peaceful, warm, euphoric feeling, having that understanding for that half a second. And so my work in the occult is focused on obtaining that understanding, that euphoric understanding of the world and universe around us and why it exists and why it's here. And so, yeah, so that's why I do what I do in the way that I do it. because I know that there's more to it. I know there's something beyond all of this, beyond the physical and the material and all of this shit. Like, this is just a facade. Unfortunately, most of us are so disconnected from, and hello moon, I see you said hi and then you waved again, so hi, so you know, you feel like you're being ignored. And hello tree sap, curse, everybody, welcome.
I'm gonna turn the heater off. I'm boiling.
Are you?
Yes.
All right, so
And people can get a good look at my shirt because Paranormal Witch said I got it for Christmas.
Yep. So yeah, so all the work that I've done over the years has been focused on trying to reach that sensation again, that understanding. And there have been moments where I feel like I'm coming close to it, and then it kind of slips away again. So I mean, what do you think about, you know, that?
What about the sensation?
Understanding the meaning of life and then having it taken away.
Yeah, no, I've definitely had similar experiences of where I've felt like I've had a profound experience or understanding or something, and then it just goes, and like you said about like that warm feeling.
It's addictive, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
But the worst part about it is, at least with like drugs, you know why you're feeling the way you're feeling, so you just take the drug again. With that, you have no idea why it happened, why it came, what it was about, like anything like that. So then you just kind of like end up scrambling, trying to figure out how to touch base with it again. But you know, you don't know even where to start.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, it's definitely you know, interesting. And like when we start talking about stuff like the Mandela Effect and the expansion of the universe, and then like even like for a quick second, like when I think about, you know, the edge of the universe, when I think about what's beyond that, like I kind of start to have that feeling again. Like when you begin to understand that where we live isn't as far away from the spiritual as we think. We're not that separated from the stuff that we do. Right? And I think that that's the beauty of magic is magic. The idea of magic is that understanding of knowing you aren't that far from everything that you're trying to connect yourself with. Sometimes you feel very far away. Sometimes living in this plane of existence, when we get stuck with bills and credit card payments and buying food and going to the gym and trying to live a healthy life and stuff like that, you know, we kill our brain cells watching TV and playing video games and stuff like that, doing drugs, going to parties, you know, doing things that completely disassociate us with the stuff that we're working towards. You know, it's kind of hard to strike a balance between, you know, the mundane and, you know, what's higher than that. But I think understanding and knowing that we're not that far disconnected as we think we are is an exhilarating feeling. I mean, just imagine, you know, when you work with an entity and you're in ritual and you're in meditation and you open up a communique with that entity, and just to fully kind of understand, you know, that thing that you're talking to is right there in front of you, not in another world, but just on like in the same world, just on a different plane of it. Do I think music is a perfect connection to magic? Yeah, of course. I'm one of those people that I when I go into ritual, I definitely need. I mean, I also think that that's partly due to my ADHD. Like I think like overstimulating my senses kind of helps me focus on what I'm doing. So like as long as I have like the candles are lit, the incense is going, the music is playing, the lights are done correctly, you know, like all of that stimulus at the same time helps me focus on what I'm doing. And I'm definitely a lust moored type of person. Black Sun is definitely my favorite track to listen to when in ritual by Lust Moored. Would love to play it at the beginning of the show, but we also like making money, so you know, playing that means we don't get any. So at least with Nine Inch Nails does revenue sharing, so at least we get something off of this. Yeah. Anyway, so we're actually coming up on the cap here. One thing I want to drop real quick. So you guys, I put out a poll a while back asking if you guys would be interested. Am I boring you?
Yeah. No.
Asking you guys if you'd be interested in a Baphomet course. And so the first installment of that, the intro to Baphomet and the Baphometic tradition, will be launching February 15th. So, yeah, that is going to be it's going to be a live class. It's going to be a live course. So it's not going to be any pre-recorded video. It's going to be in Google Meets. Each session only has 6 seats. So I'm doing 4 months of the introduction. So February, March, April, May. There will be 1 class per month going over the intro. And then from there, we'll start going into the next one after that, and the next one after that, so on and so forth. So if you're interested in that, and if you want to book a seat for that, you need to go to addiestay.setmore.com to book your seat. Okay. It is 2 hours. It says an hour on the site, but it's 2 hours. It's 2 hours long. What?
Because I said, with the way you talk, it's going to be more than an hour, babe.
Yeah. So, but
thank you, Mo.
So the big thing with this, the intro to Baphomet, is one of the very important things that I thought was absolutely necessary to cover is going beyond like the Knights Templar, right? So we understand for the most part that the original incarnation of Baphomet is the Knights Templar, right? And then sensationalized by Aleister Crowley and Levy. It was very important for me to be able to provide you a path to go back beyond the Templar to show Baphomet's existence prior to that. And in this course, I'll take you all the way back to about 4 BCE. So we're going right into kind of like, you know, the Egyptian pharaohs and so on and so forth, like, you know, Baphomet's connection to Egypt, ancient Egypt. And so hopefully even further beyond that. And also specifically, now I need to join the Knights to find out what they teach now. Need to compare notes. So there's going to be that. And then obviously that is going to be also, I'm going to kind of introduce you guys to kind of how like a Baphometic ritual goes. So I figured You guys know how I feel about ritual. You guys know that I think it's deeply personal. I think you should figure it out for yourself, but people keep asking how I do it. So I figured, okay, you want to know how I do it, how I build that connection in each ritual that I do, then that course is going to be the only course that is going to have that in it. Right? So February 15th, 2025 is the first installment of it. There are only 6 seats available, so it's only 6 people. I want to make sure that any questions that are going to be asked, anything like that, there's going to be more than enough time to be able to answer questions and, you know, provide elaboration under the things that we're going to be talking about. So I feel that anything more than 6 people is just, it's overselling it, and it's just not... You're not going to get the value that I want you to get out of it with any more than 6 people. So there's that. So Dyra's merch is merging with her main site.
Is.
So Demonora is going to exist as a brand, the merch brand, but it's no longer going to have its own website. So you're just going to be going to blackmagicdyra.com for everything. So everything Dyra related is blackmagicdyra.com, which is good. It's consolidation.
Mm-hmm. Instead of me having like a million different, look, I'm here and I'm here and I'm here. Like, look at me popping up everywhere. Like, no, just you can just find me in one spot now. I'm staying still.
Yeah, there we go. I mean, it works. It works, right? Yeah, and you guys know, for me, it's addiusdade.com, right? So anything you guys design work, whether that's commercial or occult art that you're looking for, or any type of services, you can go to addiusdade.com. And anything else? Am I missing anything? Which skills is still a thing. You know, go and sign up for the newsletter or the updates. So I actually moved that to the top of the page. You guys can input your email address and get updates of when that's going to be going live. We might do another trial run of it. Not soon, but we might be doing another trial run of it at some point. Just to kind of get what you guys think about it. But the next one will be at a discounted price. The next one's not going to be a free run. And that's just because of the sheer amount of content that's going to be up at that point. So yeah. Also, quick thing. So for the intro to Baphomet, right, in the Baphometic tradition, if you are a member of Addius Dade, right, of this channel, you will get 50% off the price of the course. But you have to, one, contact me directly, which would be through Discord or, you know, however, and show what your YouTube name is and proof that you are a member, so I can verify it. And then you will get a discount code to go in and get 50% off the course price if you are a member. Okay. So there's a little bonus there for you guys if you guys are members. I see like Maeve, he's like, nice, I guess. So you get 50% off. If you're interested, just hit me up and you'll get the discount code to go in and pay for your seat. So with all of that being said, that is going to conclude today's episode of Adversary of My Adversary, the Mandela Effect. I keep looking over there and I keep wanting to say the Melinda Effect. I mean, we should make that a thing, the Melinda Effect, right? Like vomiting is a potential side effect. You
brain rot.
Brain rot, right? Exactly. You guys are fucking amazing. I love your faces. You are the reason why we do this. And as always, I hate that. It's supposed to go like this. There it is. It's a nice big.
Yours doesn't even look like a fucking heart.
Yeah, it
At
does.
least mine resembles one. Yours looks like an apple.
It does not. Anyway, Thank you guys. You guys are fucking amazing. And as always, hell thy fucking self. Peace the fuck out. See you in the next one.
Oh.